Hey everybody, how's it going? Marcos Viegas for Fight Up TV, powered by Stagefront VIP. Being joined now with Eddie Hearn, who's in Florida, has this show coming up September 23rd, where the big news, is the return of Conor Benn on this show. Eddie, a lot of mixed reaction online. I don't know if you had a chance to read the comments on your guys' Instagram post or Twitter post, but yeah, some fans not too happy that this is happening. Other fans are saying, hey, it's fair game. What do you make of the response, and do you feel it's fair?
Not really fair. I don't think a lot of the situation throughout has been fair, but I think if ultimately we're in a situation now where Conor Benn has been cleared to fight. You know, he's been through two processes now, one with the WBC, and then when he did that, everyone said, no, 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 he must go through the process with the British Boxing Board of Control. He did that. He won that case. His suspension was lifted. He's cleared to fight. The board said, we're going to appeal that. We have no news of that. We have no knowledge of when that might be. Could be next year. I mean, I don't even know if that's going to happen. But ultimately, Conor Benn has a choice after being cleared to fight or to wait around for somebody that might appeal or might not appeal. So I think it's important to stress in this situation the process that we went through. You know, I saw someone say, you know, are they just commission hopping? Not really. This was a conversation between the British Boxing Board of Control, the ABC of America, which is effectively your governing body of the state commissions, the Texas Athletic State Commission, where Conor Benn is licensed, and the Florida State Athletic Commission, of which the event is taking place. No one, the ABC, you know, Texas and Florida wouldn't allow Conor Benn to fight until the ABC confirmed he was cleared to fight. The ABC wouldn't confirm he was cleared to fight until they spoke to the British Boxing Board of Control to confirm he was cleared to fight. So there was actually quite a long process for this to happen. That's why we actually announced on Wednesday rather than last week. But we're very comfortable with the situation. It's time, in my opinion. You know, he's been through those processes. He won that case. He's cleared to fight. Now, if there ever is a appeal and he was to lose that appeal and he was suspended and he wasn't clear to fight, he wouldn't be allowed to fight. And if he wasn't cleared to fight, he certainly wouldn't have been cleared to fight or allowed to fight this Saturday. So I understand no one's ever going to be completely happy, but ultimately the man has a right to go back to work, and that's what he will do this Saturday.
So is he allowed to fight in the UK now? I
Yeah,
know he is.
yeah, he's cleared to fight. So
Yeah.
once he won that case with UCAD, his suspension is lifted. Once that suspension is lifted, you're cleared to fight. You know, people really don't like me saying he's cleared to fight. Like I can't think of a better word or example to use in this circumstances than he is cleared to fight, which he is. You know, we after this fight on Saturday, we will be requesting with the British Boxing Board of Control. You have two options. You can ask for permission to box as a license holder with another jurisdiction. Tyson Fury is the best example of that. Tyson Fury is licensed, I believe, with Nevada, and he asks the board for permission to box, or you can have a license with the British Boxing Board of Control. My preference is the latter, actually. But after this fight on Saturday, we will be speaking to the British Boxing Board of Control to request that Conor Benn fights in December in the UK, and go from there. But obviously, Saturday is the focus and must win in Orlando on a big card.
Are you confident that he'll be able to get his license back if you guys go to the BBOC?
Yeah, I am. I mean, you know, at the moment, there's no reason why he shouldn't. I mean, again, we don't know if this appeal is happening. We don't know when it could happen. So right now, like, he has two options. He can sit on his backside after being cleared and just wait like 3 or 4 months or 6 months, or I don't know, or he can fight, of which he is allowed to do. So, like I said, it's been a long 18 months out of the ring. Financially, he needs to fight as well, as anybody does. They need to go back to work. And when you've been told you're allowed to go back to work, you should go back to work. And that's what Conor Benn's doing.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people have brought up that there's this cloud now of suspicion around Conor because of this, and that, like, because of that whole appeal process, he hasn't really cleared, like officially black and white cleared his name. And because of that, he shouldn't be fighting until he gets that settled.
But we don't know if that appeal is actually happening. You know, they said we're going to appeal. We've had no correspondence of that date or the plan or that process. And I think if you're cleared to fight, you should be allowed to fight. Like, you know, he hasn't boxed for 18 months. If it was a case of, Marco, the appeal is in October, I would probably say to him, I think let's get that out of the way. Let's win that appeal. And then we go. But we don't have that information. And like, it's not like this fight on Saturday is, you know, financially going to, you know, change his life, or like we're trying to fit this fight in to make some money. He's just going back to work. And his trainer believes that obviously in the last, particularly 12 months, emotionally and mentally, he's been in a tough spot. And this will serve him well, this fight, before he goes into a massive fight in December.
Yeah, you know, he's always going to have questions around everything that happened. And I would imagine, I can't even imagine the emotional and mental toll that he's been through over the course of those 18 months. Having spoken to him, Eddie, how is he coming into this?
Charged. You know, he's looked unbelievable in the gym. Don't forget, he's hardly missed a day of training. It's been the only thing that's kept him sane in the last 18 months. So, you know, as you know, Marco, I've had a lot of criticism because I 100% believe him. And I decided a long time ago, when I went through that process of finding out whether I will make my judgment, whether I back him or not. And I decided to back him because I completely believe him. And I've seen him go through a torrid time. And I'm a bit worried about Saturday because there's a lot of emotion to come out. And like, he's been looking just absolutely fierce in sparring. I hope he can translate that into the ring. You know, he's got a game opponent who will come to win. We expect him to breeze through him, hopefully. But I think the whole process of getting that fight out of the way, you know, making the way, traveling, making the ring walk, will just put him in good stead for that big fight in December. Because to go straight into that, which would be 20 months out of the ring, like into a fight of that magnitude, would be difficult. So his training team are very keen for him to have this fight first.
Yeah, the event in December, you guys want that happening in England, in London. It would be Chris Eubank Jr., which is a huge clash for you guys. But with the whole appeal thing, could that get in the way of this fight happening in December?
In the UK, probably, yes. Yeah. I mean, I don't believe an appeal would necessarily take place before then. I just don't know. But I'm not even sure the appeal will take place, in all honesty. But I think that we've already had offers for that fight to take place internationally. But I keep making it clear we want that fight in the UK. And that's what we will attempt to do.
So with him being licensed in the United States, in Texas and in Florida, obviously there's questions. Is there testing? Has there been testing of Conor given? Can you let us know about all that?
Yeah, there's been multiple testing of Conor over the last, going back beyond 12 weeks. So multiple tests during that period. And one of the reasons this announcement took a little bit longer is when we spoke to Florida last week, they wanted to know that testing's taken place, but they also said, we want him to be tested today. And we want an additional test by BARDA, which I believe took place last Wednesday or Thursday. And we got the results back at the beginning of this week. It had to be expedited with their labs because they wanted additional confirmation that although he's had multiple tests over the last 12 weeks with BARDA, that he would have that test and he will be continued to be tested this week and fight night. So yes, in answer to your question, he has had multiple tests over the last 12 to 14 weeks, including one that was insisted upon by the Florida State Athletic Commission last week.
So given that, are we going to see more of him in the United States, given that he is licensed here and not licensed yet in the UK?
Yeah, I think the plan is to fight in the UK, but there are a lot of big fights for him in the US as well. And, you know, pending that process and that decision, don't rule out further fights in the UK, in the US for sure.
You know, and just to close out this topic, though, I have a few other topics I want to touch on. Those who say you're besmirching the integrity of the sport by putting him on this Saturday. Frank Warren has said his piece, amongst other, fighters and journalists. What would you respond and say to them?
I think, Frank Warren would certainly be making this fight a lot quicker than I did. I mean, other promoters are actually trying to make, or have tried to make, illicit approaches to Conor Benn to make the Eubank Benn fight, namely promoters who work for Sky Sports. And, at one stage they're saying he shouldn't be allowed to fight. On the other hand, they're trying to make contact with him to make fights for him. So, look, the boxing world's full of hypocrisy, and I take all criticism. I believe that if a man has been through a process and has won that process and he's cleared to fight, he should be allowed to fight. If he's not cleared to fight, he shouldn't be allowed to fight. But, it's been a long time now he's been out of the ring. I believe he's been through now 2 processes, of which he's been allowed to continue to fight. What are you going to do? You're just going to sit there and wait for an appeal that might or might not happen when you've already won that case? Or are you going to go back to work? It's a bit like, difficult to explain, but, something happens to you, Marco, and you're told you can't work anymore, right? You can't, carry out your profession. And you're being asked and told you have to go through this hearing. You go through this hearing, you win the case, and they say, congratulations, you are now free to return to work. And then the other person says, oh, we're going to appeal that. We might appeal that. And you just have to sit on your backside, waiting, having already been cleared and told that you're free to resume your job and earn your money. It's different. Like, I know people want to say about, and I think the integrity of the sport is always important. But when you go through, if we hadn't have gone through a hearing and we would have just boxed anyway, I get it. But he went through the process that everybody asked him to go through, and he won, and his suspension was lifted. So, if there's an appeal, he will go through that appeal, and he will do it again, and he will win that appeal, and he will come out the other side. So, I get there's always going to be criticism. We had to make a decision, which was this man is free to go back to work, and that's what he'll do.
Yeah, I think all this goes away with that appeal. If he wins that appeal.
And there might not even be one. Who knows?
Yeah.
And
I think that's where all this is coming from, is that it's like, well, why would they appeal it if they didn't have reason to think that that decision was in the wrong? Yeah.
But again, until we get official notification, an official date, or if that's even going to happen, we feel he's free to fight and free to go back to work. And that's what he will do. If there is an appeal, and as I said to you before, if that appeal was locked in and there was a date for that appeal, I think the decision might have been different. To be honest with you, I think maybe we would have waited. And if he was ever to lose an appeal and he was to be suspended, he wouldn't be fighting and he wouldn't be cleared to box. But he is.